Even thinking about trying to understand his 13-year-old self is difficult for Edmonds. In childhood, it's easy to talk about things without truly understanding their complexity. And that's the case with Edmonds.
I had a gun like this. My hand was sitting right here.
What kind of gun was it?
I'm not sure what brand it was.
Tyler, an average 13-year-old kid, belonged to a broken house. Something that helped him bond with his half-sister, Kristi, despite the age difference. Their sibling relationship was going great, but little did anyone know that this seemingly perfect sibling bond was about to take a sinister and evil turn.
Something had happened to his brother and he felt like he knew who did it.
This is the story of Tyler Edmonds, his false confession, and the aftermath of it all.
I had a gun like this. My hand was sitting. She's been talking about doing it for a while because he wouldn't kill Joe.
During his questioning by detectives in a Mississippi sheriff's office, Edmonds admitted to having pressed the trigger on the gun that killed Joey Fulgham with his half-sister Kristi. At that time, Edmonds was only 13 years old. Edmonds had a rough childhood. His parents got separated when he was just a kid, and he never saw his dad again. Around the age of 10, Edmonds met his half-sister, both being from broken houses. They bonded together and a sibling relationship was formed. But little did he know that this bond was about to take a sinister turn.
What the evidence in this case is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, is that there are two people responsible for the killing of Joey Fulgham.
Joey's body was discovered after a day or two, and Kristi supposedly confessed to Edmonds that she killed her husband, but asked the 13-year-old to take the blame. She said things like he'll never see me again if he doesn't, and she threatened to have him executed unless he accepted responsibility. However, both of them were found guilty of the offense in 2004. The verdict in the capital murder case of Edmonds, who was 15 years old at the time, was based on a videotaped confession and forensic testimony.
Did you for real do that, or are you just telling them that? We did this, Mother. Me and Kristi did it.
The trial took place in Oktibbeha County, Mississippi, and Tyler Edmonds was given a life term without the possibility of parole. But thanks to an appeal in 2007, his original conviction was overturned.
13-year-old as an adult, but all the evidence is going to show you is that the boy gave a false statement, not just to the law enforcement, but to his own mom.
Edmonds was able to start over after a jury pronounced him not guilty during his retrial. On the other hand, not being guilty does not mean innocence. As Edmonds endured the long and winding road that many Americans must travel to get financial restitution following a false conviction, that distinction followed him for almost a decade. In his 30s, he claimed he had just begun to come to terms with the gravity of the situation.
Courtroom, and a statement you gave to the police shown to the jury?
Yes, sir.
Did you lie when you gave that statement?
Yes, sir.
Which included the pain of his adolescent years spent behind bars and the mode of manipulation from his half-sister and police interrogators that resulted in his false confession. After spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on 2 trials, 10 years of rehabilitation, and the everyday costs of starting over after youth loss, Edmonds had a tough time starting over. Even thinking about trying to understand his 13-year-old self is difficult for Edmonds. In childhood, it's easy to talk about things without truly understanding their complexity, and that's the case with Edmonds. His sister, who was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffed, was made to face him during the interview.
Would you state your name, please, ma'am?
He was separated from his mother. All he remembers is being anxious, and the deputies hounding him saying, "You might as well tell us. We already know. She's told us everything." At that moment, all Edmonds wanted to do was please everyone there, because he didn't want anyone to be disappointed in him. He reasoned that he felt he had no choice but to shoulder some of the guilt. There, a 13-year-old boy sat down and gave a false confession.
Tyler Lane, son, look at me. Did you for real do that, or are you just telling him that?
Manipulated by an adult who knew exactly what she was doing. But the most heartbreaking part about the confessor was when his mom stormed into the interrogation room, and Edmonds said to his mom that he was telling the truth. While Edmonds' frank admission certainly contributed to his conviction, It also raised the possibility that he might be ineligible for wrongful conviction compensation upon his release. In 2009, the state of Mississippi approved a plan of $50,000 for each year spent in jail for anyone unfairly convicted. However, in 2015, a judge found that Edmonds' confessions were enough to constitute evidence fabrication.
Jury has returned a verdict of not guilty.
To bring about his own conviction, which meant that he could not be compensated. But 2 years later, in 2017, the Supreme Court of Mississippi upheld Edmonds' right to pursue compensation, ruling that his confession did not bar him from getting it. His decade-long journey for reparation shows how jurisdiction is destiny when it comes to seeking recompense for a wrongfully convicted person. Edmonds and his legal team even sued Oktibbeha County for civil rights violations, but a judge found that the officer had not violated Edmonds' fundamental rights in 2012. For the past 11 years, Edmonds had lived in the shadow of the possibility of collecting compensation from the state of Mississippi.
Last time I heard from her was December of 2008. There was a letter, and it was an apology letter. She didn't even say what she was sorry for. It literally said, "I'm sorry for ... Well, you know what I'm sorry for."
But now, he's focused on getting better every day. Since being released from prison, he has moved multiple times until settling in Florida, finally leaving his past and the crime behind. But still, even now, Edmonds dreads even thinking about the case again. He views his impending trial as a necessary step toward rehabilitation.
There are things that I saw and experience that I don't think any child should ever have to experience.
His judicial process was long and expensive, and no financial support was provided to him to get through this case. Edmund said that when this happened, his mom lost everything, and legal fees would keep her in debt until the day she died.
It was pretty expensive, but I had retired from my job and I had a 401k. I had liquidated everything I had, and I'll be in debt for the rest of my life.
Plus, therapy isn't cheap either, and he's been going on and off for the past decade. Doing that once a week for 10 years at a rate of $200 an hour builds up. Elizabeth Wang, a lawyer expert on such cases, said that Edmund has lost decades of work history, and the mental health issues when you come out of prison for that length of time can be very severe. Then making those people go through a separate case, which can be very hard and have high proof standards, just to get paid and get some money to live on seems like too much to ask of someone. As of now, Tyler Edmonds is still not entitled to get compensated. Do you think this ruling was justified? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, turn the bell notification on, and subscribe for more.